Welcome back to the Comics Guild right here on Think Critical Patreon. Now, normally we would be reviewing Sleeper from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips in the Wildstorm universe. Absolutely fantastic comic book. Very, very dark. Wouldn't fit Christmas. But we wanted something dark and Christmas, so we went to the Lobo Paramilitary Christmas Special from Keith Giffen this week to talk about this one, a different flavor of Christmas.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we could have picked two more polar opposite books. And I was close. I was really close to picking this Hellboy comic, but I'm like, no, Wes has probably got to pick something like Lobo, so I got to have something to contrast that. And lo and freaking hold, you picked the Lobo Paramilitary Christmas Special because I know you spoke about Lobo before. And your fondness for him, I'm like, he's gonna pick something like that, some chaos. So I gotta have the light to balance out the dark. So I guess in DC terms, I was just being the Superman to his Batman.
So we got Keith Giffen, I guess, doing the plot, Alan Grant doing the dialogue, and then Simon Bisley doing the art on this one. I love me a good Lobo comic book, but I really love a good Lobo one-shot. And Lobo going after Santa Claus isn't the worst idea in the world.
It's right in line for Lobo's character. It really is. If you're going to do a darker take on Christmas from a DC character, you either got to have the main man or it's got to be like a pure full-on villain's tale. So this is perfect. And of course, no, this is not for the faint of heart as well. I'm not like a disclaimer type of guy, but if you're someone who wants a Christmas story lighthearted, stay far away from this one. But if you want to go the extra mile and go for the crazy, let's just say if you're a fan of Billy Bob Thornton's Bad Santa, bro, do we got a treat for you?
Yeah, you're probably not going to want to read this one with the kids, like Spider-Man Tangled Web.
No.
But there's a lot to enjoy here. And if you like a good Lobo one-shot, there was also the Lobo cancellation special that came out this year with Kyle Holtz writing. I can't remember the name of Kyle Holtz art. Can't remember the name of the writer. But that's a fantastic comic book if you're looking for another Lobo one-shot.
He actually drew the interiors, not just the cover.
The entire book, yes. It was awesome.
I did not know that. Otherwise, I would have gotten it.
You got to listen to the channel, man.
I do. I catch every 2 or 3 videos I catch. I must have missed that one, but I remember seeing it at a shop and I was like,
you didn't buy it?
Well, I didn't know he was doing the interiors. I just thought he was doing the cover.
Kyle Starks is the writer. Kyle Holtz is the interiors, and it's fabulous.
Okay, I'll get it today. I'll find a shop that has it today. I'll call around. That's how much I love Holtz as an artist. So perfect stocking stuffer for Nick Weiser this year. Yes. You throw it in the stocking, you get it on Christmas Day, and you get something to enjoy. I'm already like, I gotta get it.
You're gonna love it. That's a great one. But before you get to that, we do need to talk about the Lobo Paramilitary Christmas Special, which is absolutely awesome and terrible and sacrilegious and everything else that you would expect from a Lobo Christmas Special. It starts off with some very strange people that are wanting to, I think, kill their kids. And somebody offers them a book and is like, hey, if you read them this story, they'll be all calmed down and you'll be able to take them out. And they start reading the story, and it turns out it is the Lobo Christmas Sanction. And Lobo is called into a bar. It is not a very nice place. He's come with this dog, and he wants to know where this person that he's going to meet up with is. They say they're in the corner, and you find out there's some behind-the-scenes antics going on with the holiday mascots or whatever. And the Easter Bunny is an alcoholic, and he's ready to drop down some real coin to take out Santa.
This is one of the funniest, I would call anti-Christmas, but a dark take once again on Christmas, having the Easter Bunny be the rival to Santa Claus at Christmas. He's an alcoholic, and he's one of those, hey, I need you to take him out for me. So he's basically Lobo's a hitman for the Easter Bunny.
Basically, he's representing a group of other holiday mascot type guys that have just had enough with Santa Claus. It's time to take out the jolly old bastard.
Yeah, they got to take out the competition. They see as well Christmas is probably the most popular holiday. We need to take out the giant. Basically, he's our biggest competition. we need to get rid of him so there could be more for us.
And when Lobo takes a job, he doesn't stop until it's done. So as soon as he signs the dotted line, you're going to have to pay a lot of money, and the job will get done. Santa's basically done at this point, and he gives him a chance to walk out of it. He decides not to, and Lobo says, ho, 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 and shows up to the North Pole. And the introduction of the North Pole is absolutely hilarious, where he talks about Santa Claus. This is the way that Santa Claus is described. A brutal dictator repeatedly slammed by Amnesty International. He ran his empire with an iron fist, planned malnutrition. Yeah, I got it. Planned malnutrition, kept his army small in stature but fighting fit and fierce as ferrets. And you've got like the North Pole and the factory where Santa is, looks like a military installation. It's great.
It is delightful. And Simon Bisley, he couldn't have been a more perfect artist for this book. One, he's highly, associated with anything that is drawn with Lobo, and he really makes it in line for a Lobo comic book. And you say it looks like almost like a bit of a like a hellhole. Like, wow, this does not look fun to be. When we look at stuff like the Polar Express, like the North Pole looks all bright and shiny, and there's the perfect amount of snow. Everyone's jumping and cheering. This looks like something that was just like, wow, this does not look this. I feel unsettled just looking at this. Even the barbed wire, the factory element of it too. Yeah, this is Santa, who definitely he rules over his elves, not works in support of them.
And his elves call him Chris Crusher Kringle, which I thought was a nice little touch. And Lobo is basically staking out the fortifications and the defenses on the North Pole compound, which is guarded by a couple of armed elves. And he immediately snipes them with a rifle and just murders them right there. And that gives you an idea of just how bad this is going to go for everybody.
Oh, yeah. He lays them out, blows their heads off. And that's just the first of a few kills. You see the penguins are kind of like, oh, no. This guy's dangerous. We got to wobble our way out because what we're seeing is nothing for what's about to come.
Well, and then he blows the gate with some, obviously with some dynamite or whatever, because it's electrified. And you can see like the elves are like, what is that? Is that a reindeer? Intruder alert. Have we been breached? It's a bomb. What's going on here? We need to start a union. And then Lobo shows up. And then they refer to him as the naughtiest one has come, because apparently he's on the naughty list. In fact, he's immortalized on it. He might be the naughtiest one of all time.
I love how, as we're starting to see the elves, you see some of the presidents. One of them is a Batman toy, and there's a quick glimpse, and you can tell it's Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They probably had the word balloon placed over him, because copyright. Because I don't think DC's ever had the rights to a TMNT comic ever. So that was like, well, if you make, cover it just enough, you won't, get a lawsuit. But obviously it's a nod to TMNT because that was a year after the first movie came out. They were basically at the near peak of when they were hottest thing. But yes, Lobo is the naughtiest one there is. And you couldn't pick a better character to be the naughtiest one, because the dude is destructive. He has the most brutal methods of killing. And I mean, Punisher from Marvel could be the most brutal vigilante, but Lobo does some things that maybe even the Punisher might question himself, because at least Frank Castle has still a bit of a moral compass. As blurred as it may be, it's still there and has moments of clarity. Lobo, what is a compass?
He shows up into Santa's workshop, and he was expecting more resistance, and all of a sudden, all of these elves come out. They're loaded with weapons pointed at him. They've got the high position. And he said, Beatles Giz, it's a fairy midget convention, or a midget fairy convention. And they start talking to him with a bullhorn, telling him to stand down. Every elf is a crack shot. We're going to kill you if we don't. And obviously, Lobo's having none of it. He's like, just bring it on. And they're like, fire at will. And when they shoot, unfortunately, their weapons are shooting like corks attached to strings, like they're like little kids' weapons. They brought a cork to a gunfight. This is a bad idea.
The most non-lethal line of defense you have is basically a bunch of corks. Oh boy. You elves are screwed. I mean, screwed.
Absolutely. We get this great splash page from Simon Bisley, and he's got like one gun in the air, one pointed forward, shooting all over the place. And he says, "Eat hot lead, you unnatural dwarf geek suckers." And then you just see 2 or 3 pages of these elves being dismembered and killed in some of the most grotesque ways possible. We're seeing eyeballs fly around, brain matter out there, heads are being shot off, arms dismembered, as Lobo is doing what Lobo does best.
Well, he's brutalizing all the elves. He's singing too. He's singing. It's just imagine any brutal like comic. This is absolutely out there. And it's not one of those things where someone gets stabbed or someone gets shot. They'll show no. You see arms and legs. You see all the dismemberment right before your eyes. They show all the visuals, and it is, woo, man, Lobo, you are a bad son of a gun. Holy crap. And his dog too takes part in it, because can't just leave the dog out of it. The dog's got to have fun, and the dog has a little bit too much fun out of it.
Yeah, he might rip an arm off and eat a guy's head. Not a good idea for the elves to stand up to Lobo with court guns.
What were they thinking? Oh yeah, probably they've never been in a fight before, so it's probably the last thought in their mind. Like, oh, it's okay, we'll be fine with non-lethal weapon.
They thought the baddest man in the world was Santa Claus, and they found out that's not true. There is somebody worse out there. Lobo continues on his quest to find Santa Claus because he's got to get this contract and make it right. And he finally finds him. There's a room that says authorized personnel or whatever. Decked out to the gills. There's all kinds of great paintings and all this kind of stuff. In fact, he's starting to have a little admiration for Santa Claus's kind of style and all the things that he's collected over the years. And when he finally finds him, and he did another great splash page, you got Santa Claus. He just looks like a Russian gangster or something. He's got a big ass cigar, sitting on a chair like he couldn't care less. And he's also got an enormous gorilla behind him and tells him, "You can call me Chris or Sir," which I thought was great.
Yeah, I love the element of the gangster element of Santa, because as he's going up the stairs and he's in a palace, it made me think of the Al Pacino, Tony Montana Scarface, where he's like this ultra badass gangster. He rules the kingdom type of thing, and he's got his own throne, and that's like his right hand man. The girl's name is Kong. That's his number one guy. And it's actually really well drawn drawing of Chris, as he likes to be called, and his man Kong. And like, oh boy, even Santa looks badass too. And he actually looks like a brutal dictator as well, like they said he would be. I thought he was going to look all innocent and maybe Simon Bisley eyes in terms of like, but still had that etch of innocence, like the way the elves did. Nah, this Santa looks just as evil as Lobo.
It's great because he has no fear. Even though Lobo's got a gun pointed at him, he knows that there's been a contract put on his head and he's been hired to kill him. He's like, okay, if gunning down an unarmed mythic symbol is the only way go ahead and shoot. But it sounds like an excuse to me. And then he calls him Lily Liver, which is great. He's like, you can't take me in a fair fight. Not exactly the reaction I was expecting.
No, I did not expect Santa Claus bite back the way he did. I was just like, holy crap. Lobo and Santa can both dish out. It seems that they can both take it, and they're both going to get into a very, very nasty fight. You're like, how's this going to go? Like, Lobo, you're going to kill the man. But the fact that Santa's actually got some determination, oh.
Absolutely. And he's like, all right, if you want to fight to the death, we'll fight with knives. And he breaks out a couple of those like almost like short swords, but they're kind of curved in the middle, like throwing knives or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, are those for throwing, or are those the things that they use when they cut like a slice of pie and they hand them to you? I was like, I thought about the pie, and sometimes there's like apple pie or something during Christmas, but no, maybe it was just that they just went for those types of knives. These
are definitely not pie servers. They're real knives. They're really sharp. He throws Lobo one and lets you know, I used to be a cut up when I was younger. And then they start fighting toe to toe. And Santa puts up a pretty good fight. He even gets a couple of licks in on Lobo, draws a little bit of blood. I think there's some biting going on. And they basically go at it hard, really hard, until Lobo finally gets a crack on him and punches his eyeball out. and you're like, oh, this isn't going well for Santa Claus anymore.
No, not at all. I'm actually was quite surprised that Santa actually got a decent head start and even managed to cut him up a bit. I thought this was gonna be an absolute blowout. Like, yeah, once Lobo got the advantage, then all bets were off. But Santa actually got some work done, which I didn't expect. So Santa was quite the badass, but it was a short-lived reign.
Even says, "Die, you naughty bastard." And then he realizes it's not going well. He's like, look, we can make a deal. Lobo's like, sounds cool, but the bunny's already paid for you. And the maid man always delivers. As one of the penguins says, free of the tyrant at last. Lobo says, season's greetings, fats. Santa Claus has been beheaded. And he's got the knife that did it in a pretty wild splash page again. It's just you don't expect to see this stuff in A Christmas Story. I can't believe they went for it, and they went so far for it that they actually did this. It was great. Hilarious.
It was bold, and this is at a time when being bold and doing stuff like this was actually shocking. And it actually, had that element. It felt like it. Nowadays, it's really hard to shock and surprise. But in 1991, I can only imagine this was like, whoa, who does this type of star? Like, I wonder if there's any pushback Giffen got from editorial about this. I want to know, because I've never looked into the histories, but the fact that we got a fight with Santa, Santa being a dictator, Santa being beheaded, a slaughter fest of the elves, and we got paid off by the Easter Bunny to kill Santa. Dude, I want to know the history of how this kind of got to editorial and into the printer. I want to know if there's something there. But I do love how the penguin's like, 3 cheers for the main man. Funny.
And one of them says he wants to join the gang as Lobo's realizing this is a bigger windfall than he thought. Obviously, he's getting paid by the Easter Bunny, but he's also got access to the entire naughty and nice database. And of course, the nice people are probably marks. He could probably blackmail them. He could do anything he wants. It's a nice long list of victims. And the naughty list are people that could be his allies that he could recruit to work under him, or they could be potential adversaries later on in life, and he could take them out right now.
Is he going to do it? I think he's going to do it. He's got a list. He's got access to a bunch of stuff. He's checking it twice. Yeah, he has checked it twice. And he's not only going to find out who's naughty or nice, but he's coming to town. And it's not in the way you expect. But if you know Lobo, it's exactly in the way you expect.
So he takes Santa's workshop and starts making bombs with it now that he has all this information. And he's got all these bombs made. And then he goes to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and says, Rudolph, leave my sled tonight or I'll blow you away. Rudolph says, no, never. You're naughty. Too naughty. And then he kills Rudolph. Your choice.
Rudolph, you of all the, I was going to say people, but you of all animals, of all species, should have been the least pushing back towards Lobo. At least Kris Kringle has some muscle and, can, get a few licks in. You're just a helpless reindeer who has a bright light, who can be a guide. You got what you deserved.
Well, the other reindeer at this point, they decide to go along with it because they don't want to die. And then we get images of Lobo flying around in Santa's sleigh, shooting his gun in the air, dropping bombs on innocent victims to celebrate Christmas. And that's the end of the story. Then you get a great splash page at the end with Lobo basically flipping you off, saying Merry Christmas, compadres, ho, fraggin' ho.
Dropping bombs left and right on everyone, and no one is off the limits. If you were on the list that he didn't like, well, it's time to die. And yeah, it is the most Lobo ending ever. Wow, absolutely wow. And Simon Bisley, once again, the art style, for those who maybe somehow, in case you have read Lobo, he's also done some comics from guys Glenn Danzig from Band Danzig, Misfits. He's a lot of art affiliated with him. This was one of his other things he was highly synonymous with. And it's definitely not the art style that's probably the most conventional for everyone. But if you know Lobo, or if you know brutal and gritty and slimy and grimy Bisley is, it's right up your alley for a story based on Lobo and Christmas.
Not exactly the most hopeful Christmas story of all times, but every once in a while, you can watch a Bad Santa. You could read a Lobo Christmas celebration, or I'm sorry, Paramilitary Christmas Special, and have some fun with it. It's certainly a different flavor from Spider-Man's
Tangled Web.
Tangled Web. I'm getting so old. It's Christmas season, and I'm forgetting names of comic books at this time. But this thing's a lot of fun. Is it brutal? Yeah. Should you read it with your kids? No. Should you tell your wife you read it? Probably not. Do you need to go to church and confess your sins? Maybe if you enjoyed it, but it is a guilty pleasure.
Oh yeah, and I like my Bad Santa's the world. I've someone who grew up on Home Alone 1 and 2, the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman. I've grown up to love the Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell. Still gotta watch stuff like Fat Man with Mel Gibson. I've grown up on Christmas movies throughout my lifetime, and even I can still find a moment to appreciate these types of stories, because at the end of the day, they're still Christmas stories, and they're just meant to be entertaining.
Absolutely. We definitely want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Hopefully you had a great day. This will be up on the YouTubes, obviously, for Christmas. It was already on the Patreon, because that's where the Comics Guild exclusively resides. If you're interested in supporting Think Critical YouTube, on the lowest tier, the Past the Helmet tier, you can get the Comics Guild as well as an exclusive review and some other things in there. If you're interested, there's a link in the video description. We are doing Miller World, and you can go back and listen to all that stuff. And we're also doing Sleeper right now, but we've also done Planetary, Hawkman. We've done the New Frontier. We're going to be doing Exo Man of War and Miracle Man in the not too distant future. So we got a lot of great things popping over there on the Comics Guilds.